Right. Um, Thank you so much. This is the next episode of the Corporate Elephant, and today's topic is not knowing what's next in your career. And today I have with me Wouter de Graaf, who is an industry veteran as well. You've been in the industry for so long, and now you have left and you opened Hospo Live, which is the first global industry platform that really supports hospitality, the staff, and then all the other stakeholders. And for the very same reason why we are talking about this, because what's next after our career? So do you want to talk a little bit about Hospo and yourself just to get it started?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for inviting me. And it's fantastic. I mean, yeah, Hospitalife, of course, like you said, the first global hospitality and tourism industry platform, very much focused on the people that are working in it, as well as, of course, as how we can support the businesses, the small businesses, especially. Of course, the larger organizations do have a pretty good infrastructure. But that said, still probably some great things we could offer and assist with. Small companies, people that have worked in hospitality for a while or haven't worked in hospitality and always thought it would be great to have a restaurant, a bar, a cafe. We're there, we can help out, we can give them support. But the main thing is about getting people together and support each other to achieve the goals, achieve the things that you always wanted to achieve personally or in business.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And bringing in the talent, we had conversation about that, right? Because
Mm.
that is the major issue for the hospitality industry. And Hospo is pretty much helping with that, bringing and connecting everybody, existing colleagues and new talent that, hey, come and join us. And what's best to start with the young generation, which you now started working with, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I think it's one of the things that we've of course seen over the years, and I don't think that is necessarily because of COVID, but it was already before. We had a hard time finding
Mm.
new talent, especially for the roles in our restaurants, our bars, and housekeeping. I think that's going on for quite a while already. COVID, of course, accelerated some of that because we've lost a lot of people, unfortunately, during that time that left the industry and didn't come back. So it's only gotten harder. And talking to a variety of different schools as well, the number of students are down. So yeah, I think one of the things is with Hospital Life is we're trying to really make sure that we can showcase this industry as the wonderful industry it is, the one I've been dedicating my life to, and similar to you, and to bring out the highlights of the industry and why you should join and why it's still fun and why it's still great. That said, I think on the other hand, probably as an industry, we also need to realize that there are things that might not be great or we might not be doing right because they are not joining us for a reason or they are leaving us for a reason. So I think with Hospital Life, we want to bring out
Mm-hmm.
the best and as well as like finding out what is it that stops you from joining us, or what is it that you choose education in hospitality, but then you're done with your education and then you decide not to go in it. What happened in between that period, and how can we change that, and how can we make sure that you stay on that path of
Yeah.
hospitality. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes what is stopping them, and I worked with interns as well myself. So they are coming, they spending the 6 months internship, super energetic, super motivated. I love them. They bring their ideas. And sometimes, they say that they scared of the big structure. Sometimes that's what it is. That
mm,
they don't feel that they can make a contribution sometimes. And also sometimes I had a conversation with somebody and he said, okay, what is my career? Is it I'm going to spend my
mm,
next 40 years within the hotel industry? And yes, we have several departments, several roles. I mean, it's really millions of options. But sometimes we don't understand, and this is what we talked about last time, that we don't understand even when we are in it. And you met also a few hospitality leaders that we don't know what's next? So we are in this fantastic industry, right? And we reach a
Yeah.
certain level, let's say a GM, and I have a very close friend, a GM friend who's been GM for 15 years probably now. And last time I met him, the first time I saw him, very, just flat. Normally he's very upbeat, very motivated, very energetic. And I'm like, what's happening? And he's done. Like, you can only do a job for so long. And after that, what's
Mm.
there? We need motivation, we need challenge. We cannot just go and keep doing the same job over and over again. So what he wanted, and we had a conversation about it because he's originally a chef, and then he moved to F&B and then all the way to GM. And he said that I would love to go back to the kitchen and teach culinary.
Mm.
And this is when it
Yeah.
hit me, that we don't have a plan for people who might want to go out of the hotel itself, but stay within the industry directly or indirectly. And we don't provide any help for that. And I think this is,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think that's where we really for Hospital Life, what we're trying to establish is that hospitality is much bigger than we sometimes think. I think that when we look at hospitality as a totality, and that's what we try to incorporate in Hospital Life, is that we're talking about the hospitality businesses as we know it, and that might be the bar, the restaurant, the cafe, the hotel. It might be the small hotel, the big hotel, the corporate hotel. That's how we vision it. But there's a lot more to it. And that's what we've done on Hospital Life. We brought in everything
Mhm.
around it. So all the associated businesses and stakeholders. So yeah, so like you said, schools is an important and integral part. I mean, at the end of the day, definitely Hospital Life, we believe that schools are the cornerstone, of any industry. If there's good schooling, it validates an industry. And yeah, there'll be, like in this particular general manager, there are plenty more that at some point would like to make a shift and do something else, but still within hospitality, still what they know. But it could also be
Mhm.
suppliers. I mean, there's so many hospitality suppliers out there. One of the things that has definitely been up and coming over the last few years, and I speak to a lot of them, is hospitality
Mm.
tech. There's so many hospitality tech companies. I think for quite a while, we've been a little bit behind, the ball with tech in the industry. But if you take a look over what's happened over the last few years and the development around tech, it's amazing. But that also means that if we work in hospitality, we could, and you have a tech interest, that you could potentially move into that sector. And I think what we're trying to do with Hospital Life, we're trying to actually show like how big
Mm.
hospitality is. Yesterday I was talking to someone and they started talking about hospitals and about nursing. And I said, would you consider that hospitality? And I said, well, looking after people, at the end of the day is always a level of hospitality. So I said, yes. So, and the question was, would you like to have that on the platform? I said, well, absolutely. Because the broader we can showcase this industry, the more opportunities there really are for all of us. And I think that that's sometimes what happens is when you work in a role, you work in a company, your world is that company. You look at your LinkedIn account and all your connections there are your colleagues. You look at your Facebook account and all your friends are your colleagues, and your world that becomes your world. And that's great. I mean, I have that too. But when you come to the point that you would like to broaden your horizon, you all of a sudden notice that there is not much
Mm.
that you have besides that group, and then all of a sudden you might think, well, what am I going to do now? What is there for me? And that doesn't matter if you're a general manager or a housekeeper or any kind of level. But I think what the most important part is, and what we're trying to showcase with Hospital Life is like, look, it is a really broad industry and there's lots of opportunity. And what I would rather see, I think back in the days, someone would walk out of our hotel, say they worked in our
Mhm.
restaurant. They would walk across the street and then we would be all upset because now they work at the restaurant across the road and they left us. And we're already short staffed, what happened? I think that nowadays would be fantastic if that would happen, because at least they stayed in the industry. What happens today is they just walk out, but they walk into a completely different industry. We lost them all together. And I think with Hospital Life, what we would like to see is that let's make sure that we stay at least within the industry, and make the industry as interesting as possible, so that more people want to join, and more people understand that, oh wow, it is not just about working in a hotel or a bar. That it can be, I can be at a school, or I can work for the supplier. And the great thing about that is that everybody stays connected within that industry. So it might be that somebody says, well, I'd love to work for a supplier for a while. I'm very interested in wines and this great wine supplier. And you leave and you go work for the
Mm,
wine supplier. And 2, 3 years later into it, you go like, wow, that was fun. But my heart is a little bit more into the restaurants, as well. And maybe I go back there, and you go back. And we keep people, within that same sector, that same industry. And that's what we're trying to showcase. But yeah, sometimes it's hard. I mean, I understand. I've talked to many people's very senior roles as well, where I thought, corporate roles or regional roles, where I thought, wow, for you it should be easier than for me when I was an area GM and a GM. As a GM, you get a you get a label. You're a general manager. That's the job that you do. I always thought that if you're at a regional office and you do something that's more broad, marketing, HR, distribution, etc., then any other company outside the industry would be interested in you too, because you're doing a very specific. It's a field. It's not like a specific job
mm,
of being a GM of a hotel. It's very hard. If you're GM of a hotel, then to become a GM of a motor company or something, because you don't have that skill set. Where I thought if you got the HR skill set, or you have the marketing skill set, it should be easy to switch from one business to another. Well, apparently it's not, or it's something that the people within the roles can't see that would be a possibility. I'm not sure. But I also know that from a housekeeping perspective, as an example, even in the hotels that I was running, that all of a sudden I find out that somebody who was really good, great room attendant, and I said, oh, you know, this person we should look at maybe for the reception. And then people will get hauled back because the housekeeper already lost so many, and it was so hard to find new ones. And now we're holding somebody back in their career. Now this person then gets desperate and goes like, oh, if I can't move here, then I leave. Well, they might leave to another hotel, or some of them just leave altogether and leave the industry. And so uh, I think it's important that people never come in that situation of where they think that they're stuck. They're stuck to a role, they're stuck to an organization, they're stuck to a part of the whole industry, a field, a sector. But to showcase that it's much larger, and to make it in that way more interesting, as an industry as a whole, and to attract more people into it, because people go, they can see there is more to it. And I think talking to students as well, you'll find that same conversation. I think what we need to realize, and I've been talking to a number of educators. Um, Parents are much more involved in the choices of study
mm,
nowadays than probably 20, 30 years ago. And the very, very unfortunate thing is that hospitality is not on the top of the list when parents get involved. Being a
mm,
banker, being a doctor, being a lawyer, those things are high on the list. Um, so I think one of the other things that's really important that we shouldn't forget is we need to convince
mm,
parents that it's good industry. We need to make sure, and this is what we want to do with Hospital Life, is we need to showcase that when the child says, I would like to get in hospitality, you know, that's where I see my future. And by the time they're ready to study, that parents, are engaged into that story. And if you can go to a platform that we're trying to create with Hospital Life, and parents can see like, oh, I had no idea that you could go into tech. I had no idea that you could do distribution. I had no idea you could do whatever it might be, you know, then then that
mm,
makes it more attractive as a whole. So we need to, like I said, we need to convince
mm,
parents there as much as we need to, convince the next generation. And so a lot of things changed. I mean, and the other thing is that, well, I think another thing I like to bring up is when we 20, 30 years ago, if you wanted to travel the world, and it was so interesting because yesterday when I was talking to students, they said to me, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I want to travel the world. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic, because nowadays a lot of young people want to travel the world like we did. And we were kind of the hospitality nomads. Now you got the digital nomads. But back in the days, if you wanted to travel the world, you were a hospitality nomad. We didn't call it hospitality nomads, but if you want to compare it with now, then we were the hospitality nomads. We
Yeah.
traveled the world. Now people, now the young ones, the next generation wants to be the digital nomad, because the advantage of being a digital nomad is that you decide where to work, what time you want to work. In general, the remuneration is better than the hospitality nomad. So being a digital nomad is much
Mm-hmm.
more attractive. So hearing yesterday that, oh, I do this because I want to travel the world, kind of was like, oh, they're still there. And that's great, because I know, a lot of them have chosen to
Mm-hmm.
be digital nomads. So, but there's unfortunately not enough anymore. There's a lot of them have switched into being digital nomads. So yeah, we need to make it attractive. And I think making it attractive, is talking about the bigger picture of what we as hospitality, including every stakeholder, every site thing that is part of the whole thing. At the end of the day, we need to showcase that, and we need to promote that, and we need to tell people about it. Because I think that way we can get more people to join, and more people to stay. The ones that are in it and feel lost, um, and don't see like what the next step is going to be, um, need to have a place to go to and say, oh, but I didn't know you, but if I can do that, wonderful. What a great industry, I'll stay. So yeah, so that's really also a big
Yeah.
part of what we're trying to do.
I think it's so good that you managed to map that out. You know that what can I entered this industry, and even I never really thought about it before. I came across Us for Life, and I'm in this industry because I never thought about how many options I have. And I also sometimes felt really stuck. I'm like, okay, I'm in that. Like, I know I can switch departments, we all know that. And then you go back and forth on the career ladder, you move. But can I go to teach in schools? Can I go to the supply chain, etc., etc.? That is what is missing. And once we manage to show that to the new generations who are coming into it, and then we also have to probably redesign roles, because now that you were just saying about remote work, we're going to have to create that for these guys, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna have to create those
absolutely,
remote
absolutely.
jobs. You
Yeah.
you want to travel, you want a remote, you want flexibility. What do we have within that hotel industry? Because we are very much property based. That's the industry. But
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
certain roles that maybe we can make it flexible, and also for the existing ones, because I think, and this is where we fail in talent management, and talent management is not equipped to deal with this kind of request, or this kind of talent or skill development, and it's causing a lot of problem. And if I don't know your experience about that, but my experience is really, I see people stuck in certain jobs, stuck in certain levels, and they are blocking the
Mm-hmm.
talent pipeline, and sometimes we lose a really good upcoming talent because that person is there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it could be because the salary package
Yeah.
was very, very high, and now that person can't move. So I always say, don't promise everything, because then you will end up few years later that person is stuck, because now you can't move anywhere because the salaries have changed. And so we don't know how to exit people, and it's not the exit, I don't want to use it in a negative way, but how to move them out, and allowing the new ones to come in. And it is causing a lot of problem, and I think it has impact on engagement. It has impact on
Mm-hmm.
people's ability to see that I can develop, because or they see that people got stuck. And and also for us, because those people get very, very frustrated. We know the statistics: the longer you stay in a job, the less engaged you are, and that's okay. That's a normal reaction. But what do we do with them? Because moving them from one property to another is not a solution. Sometimes in Europe, I see GMs, and I really love those ideas or examples that they are very content spending the whole life in one property. They take full ownership of that property. They are the property. And but because they live that, that's the area, that's where the families are. So there are very few of
Yeah,
those
yeah,
ones,
yeah,
but the majority of us are traveling and moving and need the new challenge. And we don't know what to do with those. We don't know what to do with those. And we can't even,
yeah,
why you were saying that your connection, we're talking about your connection with schools. Why don't we have contracts with schools that, hey, you need teachers? I have the talent pool. Who knows hospitality
yeah.
better than we do?
Well, I think a few things we need to probably remember that have changed over the years is when I joined the industry, there were a lot of roles, and I remember that we they would make up roles. I mean, we could, if you wanted the promotion to keep you, they titles were made up as we'd go along. And in those days, that was part of how you would keep
Mm.
people. I mean, one was you put your head down, you work hard, and one day you'll get there. And of course, I think that's no longer really valid with the next generation. I think the other part of it is that we had all these types of roles in hotels, and there was more flexibility in creating roles if need be, if somebody is really good. So we would be able to kind of manage people through a pipeline,
Hmm.
and and create it as we went. I think that scenario has kind of faded a lot because what we've done over the last probably 10 years is we have tried to flatten the organizations as much as possible. Well, of course, there's reasons for flattening the organization, and some of them, really help with the communication, through the layers, and make things more flexible. And there's all kinds of there's always goods and bads to whatever we do. But probably the bad part about it is that we do not have so many opportunities to promote people anymore. We do not have so many opportunities anymore to kind of create that path for them. If in the past there were 8 steps to get somewhere, and we've now managed to do that in
Hmm.
4, then we run out quite fast in that pipeline. So I think that by itself is why it's so important that we branch out. If we cannot go up vertically, we need to have more opportunities horizontally. So, because at the end of the day, what you say is people get bored, things get stagnant. These are things that are happening. That is logical. That's how it works. People want to be challenged. They want to have a new opportunity, and not everybody wants the next
Hmm.
step. Not everybody wants to become the supervisor or the manager. But it doesn't mean they don't want to be challenged in their role. So I think what we focus on a lot more is how can we do this
Hmm.
vertically more than if horizontal if vertically is gone, and how can we do this more horizontally? How can we broaden that spectrum? And I think to broaden the spectrum, it does mean we need to look at hospitality holistically as a whole, including of everything that
Hmm.
relates to it. And I think that if we can make that change, we can keep a lot more people within the hospitality businesses, because there are more opportunities, um, and that's really what we're trying to focus on. If I think about my career, it's probably unheard of now. In the beginning, I had in a matter of years, I had like 9 promotions, but those roles don't exist
Hmm.
anymore nowadays. That was just a completely different time. If I would have to do that over right now, it probably might have been one or two
Hmm.
promotions. So what kept me interested and what kept me going was the excitement of taking on some more responsibility, some change here, some change there. Uh, that was what was exciting. Yeah, I think that with that no longer existing
Hmm.
vertically, really the only solution is to showcase people that there is horizontal progression, And might that be within your hotel, or might that be within your restaurant or bar? Um, you can. It will only go so far. So, but we can do that as long as we can. But then I think we also need to have a plan for someone to move along, maybe even out of your business, which is, always a hard thing, especially when you're short staffed. But I think you can create loyalty if you have a bigger plan. And I think if you are able to extend that plan as a business amongst a group of businesses, where you might lose one to one, but someone else brings one back into yours, and we continue to have that talent pool within
Mhm.
the industry and can build that on top of that talent pool, because the current talent pools as well, it's really great. One day I was working in this hotel, and the next day I was teaching at this school, and the other day I was working for the supplier, and then I went back to the hotel. Then that's an interesting career path. It's exciting. You extend your knowledge. But it's not an easy process. I mean, I understand. I mean, this is not something we can do overnight. But I think that it is something that we need to have a much more serious thought about. And the same as like these digital nomads. How do we capture some of the
Mm.
digital nomads as well? And that does create, there needs to be some type of flexibility on how we would do that. And again, that needs some further discussion. But yeah, what we're trying to do with Hospital Life is also open those discussions and those
Yep.
collaborations, and to say, how can we together come up with plans. I think you made the comment about communication with education. Yeah, one of the things I definitely found from the educators is that uh, communication between educators, some of the educators, and industry, is not always aligned. It's not always as good as it could be, and I think there's more opportunity there as well. Uh, I got to say, I mean, and part of it is you're always really, everybody's always busy. But the more I now talk to educators, the more I actually understand how, even as a GM back then, I could have taken much more advantage out of that. To bring new talent into the business, and to make sure that we could nurture that and move that forward. And I think it's really important, because it's quite shocking when you talk to students, and students say, "Oh, half of the people I know that graduated before me are no longer working in hospitality." And what happened? How is it possible? You purposely made a choice 4 years ago. You went for a degree, and half of them are not even in it when they come out. So what happened in
Mm.
that process? And then we got to think: do we give the right? They've done internships. Have they gotten the right internships? Did they enjoy that? Did we do the right thing when they were there, or did we leave the intern to its own devices and they just became an extra help? And that's one of the things I hear is, an intern comes in, there's no real program for them. At the end of the day, they just become, the extra pair of hands we needed because we're short staffed. The intern leaves disillusioned, comes back to the school and thinks, wow, this is not what I want. That was not what I signed up for. And now they graduate and they are already out. So I think we need to nurture the processes there better, and understand more what we need to understand the student better. We need to understand the educators better, and how we can make sure that we do the right thing in the industry when they come out, or when they have internships with us
Yeah.
as well.
Oh my God, you speak my language, because I had interns. I was looking after the interns program, and I was the school liaison with Swiss and French and even Dutch universities. And I was so lucky, because my operational colleague, the two of us worked together very, very well. And I've been through internship, and he's been through internship, and we were chucked into the last corner of the internship, and this is where you spend your 6 months. And that time I remember, but I
Mm,
went through culinary internship because I'm a pastry chef by trade. And and
mm,
all I did the first year is cleaning the kitchen. I haven't touched anything. And I know the misery that I went through. So when we started working with interns, so we decided to bring interns, and I'm like, the only thing I'm not going to do with these guys is to have the same experience that I had. And we have a fantastic
Yeah.
program with my ex-colleague. We created a massive program, and they followed that 6 months program, rotating around, not just in one outlet. It was in FMB, exposing them to different events, organization. We took them to Formula One, So it's really exposing them to real life. And we had really good conversations about, because sometimes they come out of these very expensive hotel schools, and in a hotel school you have,
Oh,
seven different cutleries, seven different sets of cutleries for everything, so your stockpile is really good. But in hotel industry, that's a real, reality hit. And they would be like, oh, this is not how we do things. I'm like, school and real life. And then we really had these good conversations with them that, there are certain set of expectations and how we should do things, but then you also have to manage it and balance it out with your financial constraints, really. And when you can spend money, when you can you not spend money. We plan for a whole year. You just cannot go like, okay, we need 4 more glasses, and then we go and buy glasses. And then they started to understand. And it's really, and that is letting down a lack of internship program is letting down the interns. And they might end up leaving the whole industry after finishing, not even giving it a chance, another thought. Oh, I had a bad internship experience. And that's why I always said, look after the interns. They are your greatest marketing agents, because they are always on social media. They are always on social media.
yeah, for
They
sure.
are fantastic. They are absolutely. And I love that you said that, how are we going to manage that flow of talent in and out. And we need to create some, some structure within that. But we need to, I think, incorporate, in terms of the horizontal movement, we need to involve HR, L&D, talent development, because we are not ready for that. And also to
Yeah.
present people within the industry. So let's say you are in the hotel, right? Within the hotel, a very clear path. Would you like this year, the next 2 years, because our aims and goals are changing, right? Going
Yeah.
upwards or just horizontal? Which one would you like? And what and when are we having this conversation? We never have this conversation. We always talk about promotions. There is so many other opportunities to grow than promotion. And but we don't have that. I mean, I worked in the industry in learning and development, talent development. We never had a horizontal plan, Oh, you can do cross training and go. Okay, that's great. That's a good first step.
Yeah. 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 I think what you'll find is, and it's understandable at some level. I in a hotel, a talent and culture director manager is so busy at the moment with attracting new people and constantly filling holes. We're You only have to look at
Mm,
LinkedIn. You only have to look at any site that where you can find jobs. There's always jobs. Every hotel is never fully staffed. But again, this is something that's going on for much longer than COVID. And I think the thing you'll find is that a director of talent and culture, or a talent and culture manager, is essentially just constantly plugging holes, constantly trying to. They find somebody here for F&B, and then the executive housekeeper rocks up and says, "Oh, two left," and then then we're chasing that, and then the chef rocks up and they're like, "Oh, three of my chefs," and and that's a part of the problem, is that by the time we get to talk about what else is there, there's almost no time, because we're constantly kind of behind the eight ball. And I think that it also really means we'd have to think a little bit wider, and broader, and that's hard too, because if you want to go horizontal and you actually want to open up the opportunities horizontally, and you come to that conclusion that you can no longer offer one of your
mm,
talents anything vertically, horizontally, it's not going to happen. So then you come in this position of, let's hope the person stays as long as possible. You've already know that there is an end date, but you just don't know when yet. And that's a little bit of a shame, because if we would be able at that point of time to look horizontal and have the connections and say, well, I know you want to work in talent and culture, and I know you really like the training and development part, but unfortunately we cannot offer that to you because we do not have that role, or we don't have that position available at the moment. And but that person, that person is good for it, and the person
Mm.
wants that. It would be fantastic if we have the connection with a school and know that there is a role at the hospitality school and can say, I got this person, absolutely wonderful. Think you should have a look at this person. But that's hard, because if you're short-staffed, you're constantly plugging holes. Then
I know.
um, it's a boundary you need to cross. Of course, if we all we like collectively would look at that, and support each other like that, then we keep people within our ecosystem. And that's kind of what Hospital Life is. It's its own ecosystem of the hospitality industry, and that's hospitality, it's tourism, it's the jobs, it's the hospitality businesses, it's the hospitality workers, the professionals, it's the hospitality schools, it's the hospitality suppliers, everybody together. And if we can work like
Mm.
that, then that would create a lot more opportunity,
Oh,
and would,
absolutely.
I think, a lot more people would stay within the industry. So I think another thing to consider is tech. I think one of the things with technology at the moment is that, of course, I think we lacked for quite a while. And anybody who I ever spoke to, when I was a general manager, was like, "Oh, we're always behind," and it's true. So now, what's happening over the last years, and especially something that accelerated through COVID, was
Mm.
we need more tech. And of course, now, because we also are constantly looking for people, we're trying to find more effective and efficient ways of working by using tech. Two things with tech, though. If you don't have tech in your company and you get the next generation walking in and it is all still archaic, the chances they walk out are pretty high, because they go, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do now? What is that? And they get frustrated. And so essentially you'll lose them quite quickly, and they will leave. The flip side of this is, if you put tech into place, and all these people that have worked in hospitality for a long time, and now all this tech is here, and there's no proper training, there's no proper integration with it, then we lose all the people that have been there for a long time, and they walk out and they go, oh wow, I can't do this. This is too hard. The systems are too hard. I don't understand it. They say it should help me. They say it should be more effective and efficient. Well, it's not. I'm coming home at night and I'm completely frustrated, and overwhelmed. So then you lose them. So I think one of the other things we need to, of course, I'm definitely all pro tech, but we do need to make sure that as we implement tech into the
Mm.
industry, that we do it fast enough to make sure that we get on one hand the next generation and them not looking out on the other hand. When we do it, we need to make sure we do it in a way that the current generation that's there understands it and
Yeah.
doesn't get overwhelmed. And that's one of the other things that I've seen in this whole when we talk about talent management and talent development, that we can't, definitely nowadays anymore, we can't see tech as a separate thing anymore. Tech needs to become part of talent development. It needs to become part of the training. Um, so yeah, so that's another thing that I've definitely noticed over, and also talking to
Mm.
people.
Yeah, technology is definitely it's a massive component to today's life at a hotel. Unfortunately, we are
Yeah.
not very good at it. But yes, you can scare the older generation with it, because they go like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" But
Mm.
I think, and what I would like to talk about is, because you mentioned cross industry, transferable skills like HR, and you said that
Mm.
it would be easier, and it's not, and you acknowledged that it's not. And it is also very interesting for it would be very interesting to build connections and networks with other industries, because there are roles and positions in our in the hotel industry that are really transferable skills, or based on transferable skills. And if I, let's say me, right? I say, I'm done with the hotels. I don't want to see, I need to see something else because, as we mentioned, we are so blindsided. We just only see hotels. All my friends are hoteliers. Everybody's a hotelier. So I can't even get advice. Like, I don't see anything else. And this is where people get stuck, really. I mean, I speak for myself. I don't know anything else. And that's why I said, you know what, I'm going because I don't know what's there, but I need to see it and I need to discover it. Otherwise, I'm just here. And if we had networks built out with other companies, it doesn't really matter, any kind of industry, and also, yes, with our stakeholders, even tour guide, like who would make the best tour guide if it's not a concierge guy? I was just thinking while you were talking, who would make a better
Yeah.
tour guide in any city than these concierge guys that we have, these fantastic guys in our hotels? But maybe with the banking sector, with other industries, that I have a HR
Yeah.
person and they always look out for, oh, you guys in the hospitality industry are so well trained, but yet you are not
Mm.
considering us when we are applying for a job. The first thing, and it's vice versa, it's vice versa, because, oh, you worked in the hotel industry, that's great, but we need industry experience. Like, why for a HR, or why for even restaurant managers? Sometimes I talk to them, and standalone restaurants don't look at hotel restaurants at the same quality, same level, and they say, no, 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 no. So
Mhm.
sometimes the balance is on our side, sometimes it's on their side, and we don't have that transitioning to others. And that's why sometimes we're stuck. We don't know what to do. We don't have the information. And yes, I agree. Talent and culture, or HR, is very busy fighting the fire, just like any other managers. And that's why most of the time
Yeah.
things don't
Yeah.
change in the hotel industry, because we are just putting out fires on a daily basis. But is this the job of the talent and culture? I think when you have such a large scope of task in terms of understanding people,
Mhm.
talking to them, building networks,
Mhm.
placing them. That's a dedicated job, even for a property, or 5 properties, 10 properties.
Mhm.
So no, we cannot expect HR to do everything, because HR is up to here, with all the things that they need to do.
Yeah.
And in especially in small
Yeah.
properties, I remember in let's say the comparison, and we need to also acknowledge the differences between regions. Here in the UAE or in the GCC, we are flooded with stuff. We have stuff for everything. Yeah. So in HR, for
Mhm.
HR, in a 575 room bedroom hotel, you have 7 people in HR. So
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
London, when I was working in Hilton, 630 bedroom, one HR director, one HR admin, finish, nothing else,
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So we really need
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
at, what do we do with our talent? What do we want? Because we just, it's a transaction. Okay, come in, go out, come in, go out. And but then I need to bring somebody in. And it's not helping at corporate level, because I've been in a corporate office, okay, 4.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is literally looking at people on an Excel sheet, and you don't even know who these guys are.
Yeah.
And this is not what I have in
Yeah.
mind when I say, let's help the people, because the people will
Yeah.
come to
Yeah.
you, I want to move, I'm bored, or whatever problems they have. But
Mm.
it doesn't help anyone to find out, okay, what do you really want? Do you want to stay here, outside? What do you want to do? But we don't have the resources. And I know that if we did that, if we really did that, like, um seriously, and with the intention of helping, like a customized approach, that would require an insane amount of resources. But like maybe a platform like Hospo or any
Mm.
other platform that connects people, that they can go, and then we can educate them, and they can be connected with others, maybe on the other end people can talk them through it, And then the whole infrastructure and
Yeah.
ecosystem just comes alive, because then we know that I can go to here, you're not helping me because whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I know that there are helps. And the same applies, which I've been telling the industry leaders for a long, long time, that we don't have coaches for, and I know that coaching is used very wrongly, okay? But we don't have
Mhm.
coaching or coaches for hotels and especially senior leaders, for the development. But also coaches could
Yeah, yeah.
help people to figure out what's next, because people just don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
And we are
Yeah,
not
for sure.
helping them. We are
No.
not we want to retain everybody, and by wanting the desperate retention, we are actually losing
Oh, absolutely. I think, of course, we make retention in general a part of a bonus plan for a general manager to keep that under a certain percentage. I don't think retention itself, of course, you want a certain continuity and consistency, um, because otherwise it's very hard to run your business. But I think trying to hold people there that actually no longer want to be there uh, is not going to help you either. So I'm not sure if retention as a percentage is really something you should put a bonus against. But what I do think is that, like you said, I to expand uh, the horizon, because
them.
that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Um, there is no there is no time. With I've worked in the hotels, and it's like you're saying. I mean, I worked in New Zealand, where the hotels are somewhat smaller, and we try to cluster. So you might be the HR with one more person for several hotels. Then you have the bigger hotels that, like you said, they might have seven in a team. Then it probably depends a bit on the country and the cost of labor and other things as well, with how much and how many and what you can do. So there's all these factors, and I think that's where Hospital Life can broaden
Mm,
the horizon and help to show what's there. I think it's also about not just about being. Let's go back to the students. Students want to go on an internship, but they want to go to Australia. They don't know where to start. Here, you think that the schools have that all very well set up. Well, up to a certain point, they can organize things, but then it kind of stops. So students, come to me and say, well, if this can help us, this can help us to, you know, find an internship, then that would be great. But really, what we're trying to do is we want to be this journey for your
mm,
entire career. We want to be there when you're looking for a school and you're interested in hospitality. We want to be there when you're looking for your first internship, your first job, when you have the job and you can hire someone to put your job there, to when you're the decision maker and you need suppliers, to, hey, I want to go to Australia, but where do I start? And that's where the digital advisory part of the platform, we're going to look at, if you want to go to Australia, then these are the visas you can get. This is what you can do in Australia. Here you have some of the hotels that are looking for interns. I mean, not too long ago, I was asked from out of New Zealand, like, do you have
mm,
interns? And that was before I really started Hospital Life. While we were in the development phase, I said, not yet. Now I have several interns that already said, oh, I'd love to go to Australia or New Zealand. So, but we need to connect them, and we need to broaden their horizon. And that is really hard, because yes, if you're the HR, the talent, the culture in your specific hotel, in New Zealand, you don't have time to start looking in Europe for your interns. You're already happy that you get your things done there. But if we can help you in that process, we can help two people. We got, on one hand, we got people that want to go and love to, but don't know where to start and how do you do it. And it's quite scary, because it's a country on the other side of the world. It's a company I don't know. It's a culture I don't know. But if we can already kind of help you in that process on one side, and on the other side, we can help and say, well, there are people that want that. There are people that would love that, and we can make those connections and help them in that process. Then we start to
mm,
broaden the horizon, and we start to think more, on a horizontal way than just that vertical way. So there's many ways on how we can do this. And like I said, I supplies is no different. I mean, if you're a real beer enthusiast, and nowadays, I mean, there's so many wonderful craft breweries, and they're looking for people that can join them because they want to sell into hospitality, but they have no idea where to start. They started this craft brewery because they were beer passionate fanatics, and now they got this beautiful beer. Actually, they might have a small
Mm,
range already, but now the hard part starts. How do I bring these beers into these restaurants, these bars, these hotels? They need people that understand the bar, the
mm,
restaurant, the hotel, and what it takes to make a decision for taking on your beer, what it is that you need to deliver, what it is that you need to say. I mean, I was just talking about the hospitality tech companies. There's so many small hospitality tech companies. Some are started by hospitality people, but a lot of them are not. And I had a wonderful gentleman that used to work for me, and then we're talking here about cross, someone in distribution who now works for a hospitality tech company. And it is great to see because essentially still part of the industry, what I consider hospitality and what is still but found his way into something that he really, really likes. Always had this kind of tech thing. That's why he did distribution. At the end of the day, really got kind of bored at the end. There was not much more to do, not much more to move within in hotels in where he really wanted to go. He did some extra study around robotics, other things. And then now he works essentially still in hospitality for a hospitality tech company who had no knowledge about hospitality and how to sell into it, but were just very clever and came up with a wonderful idea on how they could, with their software, help the hospitality industry. So they were looking for a guy like that, someone who had interest in tech and actually understood the industry. So there are all these roles. I've seen it and I see it every time. And but I also like you were saying in your role, you get to a point and you go, what now? And this is all I know. How do I make that next move? And that's possible. I mean, there's unfortunately the success stories there are very small still, and hopefully with Hospital Life we can create many more. And at the end of the day, that works for an individual. Like we just talk about the tech company here, that worked for the individual, and it worked for the business. So now there is a successful business with a very happy and successful still hospitality worker that now works at tech. And who knows, one day he might think like, well, I want to go back, and I love there's a nice regional role in distribution or business analyst, and I know that, and I want to go back there. But and that's a good example of what
mm.
we're trying to accomplish, and how we can broaden someone's horizon, within hospitality. And when we talk about broaden horizon, we talk about the opportunities that are actually there.
Fantastic. And I think that's a positive, that's a very good note to close on, is widening the horizon, right? Because we don't know what's next. We
No,
only know our industry,
no,
and that's it. We can't see anything else. And there is no shame saying that out loud because, this is how it is. But we need that kind of platform that is really broadening our horizons and opens up our eyes to what's next in our career. And the hospitality industry is massive. It's not just the hotel,
no, it's
right?
not. No, 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 no.
Thank you.
No, for sure. It's much bigger than
Oh,
that.
God, it's massive. But yes, so let's hope that Hospo will make that into the hotel industry and make that journey into the hotel industry, and really it will be out there for all of us to see, and not to lose. So thinking about the hotel industry holistically, not just our hotel, not just our company, but
Yeah,
the
for sure.
industry
Yeah,
globally the industry, and keep the talent and bring the new generations. Wouter, thank you so much
absolutely.
for this. I really enjoyed,
Thank
and
you.
I think the learning is there that we don't know what we don't know, and we need somebody to open our eyes. And Hospo Live is the best to
Great.
do that.
Well, Well, we look forward to helping many people. So thank you, Sylvia, for the time, and it was wonderful to have this conversation
Thank
today.
you so, so much.